Soon as you're set to start, sir.
Okay, I'll start the meeting. Oh, make sure your mic's on. That might be- yeah. Say it again. All right, we're starting the meeting. This is being recorded. This is a meeting of the zoning board of adjustment for the city of Olivet on June 13th, 2024. We're beginning at seven PM. The roll call will be.
I'll go ahead and call it, sir.
Secretary.
Commissioner Zobel, or Board Member Zobel, Board Member Weber.
Here.
Board Member Dragell,
Here.
and Board Member and Acting Chairman Ted Cicero.
Here.
Carlos, do we need to also state that you're here?
Yeah, I'll know for the record that I, Carlos Trejo, the Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Olivet, is attendance along with Jack Carswell, the Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Okay, we only have one item for 9118 Old Bonner Road. You want to go ahead, Carlos?
Sure.
Or
Yes, sir. As soon as the and there, just to go over a little bit of the participation processes, sir. We are Zooming live stream, so anybody that is online that is watching the meeting has the availability and the ability to note their comment. We ask if you speak before the board that you state your name and address. Also ensure your microphone and video are on when you speak. All individuals that are going to speak before the board need to be sworn in. It's just a procedural process for the zoning board of adjustment. And we encourage any public comments to be limited to no more than 3 minutes, just to provide everybody ample opportunity to meet and discuss. In regards to the meeting process, first we will close the regular hearing and begin a public hearing. Excuse me, close the regular meeting and move into a public hearing. At that point, the public hearing notice will be read into the record, and then staff will provide an overview of what the petition application is in regards to. Then there'll be an opportunity for questions and answers in regards with the staff member. Then we will allow the applicant to come up and present to the board, and then provide the board an opportunity to provide questions and answers, a Q&A with the applicant. And then after that, we'll permit public comment before the board, and then the board will close the public hearing session and begin discussion and hopefully consider a motion on that. Please note, all motions should be in the affirmative in there, and as being that this is the Zoning Board of Appeals and pursuant to our municipal code and state statutes, it would require unanimous consensus to authorize the variance request. You need four yeas in order for the variance to be considered in there. Outside of that, Chairman, I don't have anything else. Be glad to read the public hearing notice once you're ready to enter.
please.
All right. So we're entering the public hearing component of the meeting. And now that the Board of Adjustments of the City of Olivet, Missouri will hold a public hearing on Thursday, June 13th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. The meeting to be conducted in person and virtually with the agenda and the link available at the city's website, olivetmo.com. The meeting is regarding the following petition. The petitioner was Edward Cherry on the application. The property address is 9118 Old Bonham Road. The property owner is under a trust, the Cherry Family Trust, and the zoning of the property is what we call SR Single Family Residential District. The appeal request, it is for a rear yard setback variance. The petitioner seeks a variance of 4 feet from the rear yard setback along the south property line to reconstruct an existing deck 20 feet from the rear lot line. The required rear yard setback for this lot is 24 feet. The code section that's being appealed is section 400.260 yard and setback requirements, and it's a subsection C, which is regarding rear yard setbacks. Each interior lot shall provide a minimum rear yard setback of 20% of the lot depth. In no case shall it provide a rear yard setback of less than 20 feet. Chairman, if you're ready, we'll go ahead and Mr. Carswell can provide the staff, go over the staff report.
Yeah, please go
In
ahead.
there, and Mr. Carswell, you will have to be sworn in as part of the process. If you hold up your left hand, Do you swear that the evidence that you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do. Good evening, board. So before you tonight is a petitioner seeking a rear yard setback variance along the south property line where they're replacing the existing deck that encroaches into that rear yard setback. Like Mr. Trejo said, it's zoned single-family residential. The property has been improved and contains a home that was originally built in 2003. The current owners are actually the fourth owners of the home and purchased and occupied the home back in July of 2019. And the yard setbacks are determined by our code section, which is Section 400.200, and accessory structure setbacks are determined by code section 400.1592. So the staff finds that there's no record on the file authorizing the existing deck, and this has no authority to issue the permit to replace the existing deck and can continue the encroachment. Just like we said, that rear yard setback for the residential lots within the SR family residential district are determined by a percentage of that lot width. So in this 20% is no case shall ever be less than 20 feet, and it takes the lot width based off of that 20%. The calculated setback is then proportional to the lot depth, and the deeper the lot, the greater the setback. So just for a little context, the lot depth is approximately a little over 118 feet, which is short of the ideal 150 feet setback or preferred from 150 feet lot depth. Which is preferred from code. So this is actually a legal non-conforming lot just due to the size of that, the difference between 150 and 118. 9118 Old Bottom Road is a legal non-conforming lot, and the home, existing home and other improvements besides the deck fully comply with the setback. So if you see on the screen, there's a graphic depicting the setback. So the green squares are actually what's the existing deck, and everything is the existing deck, but that is the green portion that is not over the setback. The red is the 4-foot portion that is over that rear yard setback. So the rear yard setback is currently set at 24 feet. The deck goes over 4 feet. So the deck is actually 20 feet away from the rear yard property line. So there's just no records on whether the deck was originally installed with the encroachment at the time that the home was built. And regardless of the 2010 survey that we have for the property, it illustrates that the existing 12-foot deck with the 4-foot encroachment was there. So the Cherries who own the property were never associated with the existing deck. So they bought into this existing deck. Now they want to change the deck, but since due to the setback, they're running into the issues, hence why we're here. So if the board shall motion the variance request, we can go to the next slide. Actually, I'm jumping ahead. So these are just the findings. Like I said, legal non-conforming lot, there's some sections of code, and you should have in front of you the attachments within your staff report, which include the building permit plans, the initial staff report, the variance application, the public hearing notice, and letters from the petitioner and neighbors. So there's 2 emails on record that were sent in from from the neighbors in full support of the item in front of you tonight. And then Carlos, if you want to go back, do I have to? Yeah, go through those. So for the area variance, the Board of Adjustment may issue the area variance upon the findings that it's unique, practical difficulty, adjacent properties, spirit of the code or observed criteria, as well as we think that it's focusing on the practical difficulties with the zoning ordinance that would result in those practical difficulties as distinguished by an inconvenience that would deprive an owner of a reasonable use of the property. Yeah, so then these are just the items for the record, so that the initial family home, we have the initial plans that were dated from 2003 of April 17th, 2003, which showing the 9-foot deck. But then we have the plans from 2010 from that survey that's illustrating the existing 12-foot deck. So there was that differential between the 2003 and the 2010 dates. And then we have the building permit application and the deck plans that were submitted on May 1st of this year. The building permit application, which was designed via a meeting between Mr. Trejo and the petitioner, that was dated May 22nd of 2024. And then the Board of Adjustment application that was submitted date on May 31st. Public hearing notice that went out on May 29th, and that notice went out in the St. Louis County, as well as we sent mailing notifications to everyone within 300 feet of that property. Staff also had a report that was dated on June 13th, which is in front of you, which includes the attachments that include the 2 emails from the neighbors that are within support, as well as the PowerPoint in front of you and the city ordinances and codes. If the board has any other questions, Mr. Trejo and I would be glad to answer any of them.
I don't have. So there is no record at all of this deck?
Not from what we could find within our findings from the 2003 to
And it
2010.
was
So
built in- it was
something
built in
occurred.
2003.
Well, yes, it was 9 feet, but there's no records of the expansion going into that 12-foot deck.
I see.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Don?
Just make sure you guys turn on your mic. Oh.
Okay, if there are no questions, I guess we can move on to the
Petitioners.
petitioner. One or both of you can speak. We have to be both sworn in.
Mr. Chair, do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Carlos, I'd like to start by thanking you very much for your presentation, as well as all your help throughout this process. Same to you, Jack. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. It's been a pleasure working with you both. We appreciate it. Board members, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to consider our request this evening. My name is Eddie Cherry, and I'm joined by my wife, Emily Cherry. And we have lived in Olivet now for 5 years, along with our 2 children, Jack, who is 4, and Charlotte, who is 2. Jack will be attending pre-kindergarten at Old Bonham Elementary beginning in August and is very excited to be an Old Bonham Eagle. Just as another fun fact, Emily's late grandfather, William Gartenberg, was a former mayor of Olivet. Our home was built 21 years ago, and the original wooden deck, unfortunately, was not properly maintained by the previous owners. This has resulted in deterioration, rotting, and unsafe conditions for our children. When we purchased the home, we were not informed or aware that the existing deck was built 3 to 4 feet past the rear setback line. Carlos and I both searched for variances and documentation, but could not find anything in our respective records. To mitigate our current situation, we have explored a few paths. We first explored repairing the existing deck, but determined that it was beyond repair and were concerned about its structural integrity.
Minute, please. Go ahead.
We explored rebuilding the deck to a depth of 9 or 10 feet, but the significant investment to build a new deck did not justify the shorter depth. It would be more of a balcony than a deck. Even at the requested 12 by 20, a 240 square foot deck is considered small at 8.6% of the home size, where the national average is 300 to 400 square feet, or 16 to 20% of the home square footage. With the blessing of support from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, my family and I would like to replace the existing wooden deck of 12 by 12 with a new composite 12 by 20 deck, which we will build to a high standard of quality and integrity. I brought samples of the proposed decking material in colors for your review. We request permission to build to the exact same depth of the existing deck that we have today, no further. Maintaining the minimum 20-foot of clearance to the rear setback, to the rear property line. The rear property line is currently bound by a permanent vinyl fence. This is point of reference. I've met with the neighboring property owners to review our plan and ensure that we receive their approval prior to our meeting. We do not foresee any impact whatsoever to the neighbors, given that there will be little noticeable change. We are working within the footprint of the existing deck that is there today, and these conditions have existed for over 20 years. Thank you very much for your consideration. I would be happy to answer any questions at all.
Any questions?
Carlos, can you pull up the, what we have to choose from or not choose from?
Elements we have to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fast. When we go over this and we kind of review it, we have to kind of, we're limited to a certain, kind of reasons why we can approve a variance. So I know you talked about the adjacent properties. We know about the unique, configuration of the property, but the practical difficulties, just if you could expand upon that, I know you did talk a little bit about it, but, like what would the effect be, of reducing that size of the deck? I would imagine it might be a loss in property value or something like that.
Certainly. So the lot, as mentioned earlier, is about 118 feet of depth, which is kind of below what is ideal. And as a result, I think that's affected where our home was placed in relation to the front and rear yard setbacks. By way of example, our lowest level, our basement level, is not a full lower level as a result of the home being kind of built on a hill. And so I think that attribute of the property affected kind of our rear lot line, and not having as much latitude there to build a standard deck. With respect to, some of the hardships and things like that, replacing a deck is a very expensive endeavor, we've learned. And, the cost to do so, whether it's built to a 12-foot depth or a 9-foot depth, doesn't change too greatly, but there's still a significant upfront cost. So, the process of, digging, removing the concrete and digging new trenches and putting in new foundations and footings and things like that can be difficult when you're starting over again, if you will. So we would have to remove the existing footings, foundations, fill those in and then start over again and dig new ones and things like that. From a practical standpoint, the shorter depth, a 9 to 10 foot deck, as I mentioned earlier, is really more of a balcony. It doesn't provide enough room to hold a grill and maybe a table for seating and things like that, which is really kind of the intent of having a deck. And so, the deck that we're proposing, which is 12 by 20 on a scale perspective, is still considered a small deck. And so really for us, we didn't want to do anything more than what exists today. There's an existing footprint of the deck, which is 12 feet of depth and then a width that it actually exceeds 20 feet because the stairs go out a little further than that. So what we're proposing, board, is really to work within the confines of what exists today. No further. We just want to replace it with something that looks nicer, that's not deteriorating and falling apart. So that's the intention and some of the hardships and struggles we faced when evaluating what our plan was.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where are the stairs? Go down, I can't see it from here.
The stairs, there are no stairs on the new plan.
Okay.
Yep. So the stairs that exist today will be removed and the deck widened within the footprint of where those stairs exist today.
And so there will be no stairs.
Yes, sir. Correct. We have multiple means of egress on the level of the deck, so we're protected there.
Okay.
And we have a very small yard. And so those stairs really kind of take up a lot of unusable real estate, if you will. But by removing them, you can start to have a little bit more space beneath the deck for our kids to do their water table and things like that.
Keeps the kids contained.
Right.
That's correct. That's correct.
Very good.
No other questions? Board?
No.
I haven't any either. Do we have any other comments? Obviously not for the
Public comments.
public, yeah.
Chairman, there is nobody in the audience here to speak in regards to the petition application, and there is nobody online currently in regards to speaking to the petition application. And then I will reiterate, Mr. Carswell noted that the petitioner did receive 2 emails from the adjacent owners on Old Bonham noting support, and then did approach the property owner in the rear. We also sent out notifications with properties.
You received nothing?
No, no comments.
Very good.
All right, I think we'll close the meeting then.
Go ahead and
Oh.
sit back down.
Yes,
and then we'll have some further discussion.
Yeah, please.
And I will open the meeting for discussion.
Yeah.
But you don't have to leave or anything. We'll just have a discussion in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
These ones when they're sitting in the existing footprint. It's replacing the same thing, the same.
Expectation of that living space that they
Right.
have already. So.
I agree. Rob,
I agree completely with everything you guys have said.
and I agree as well.
With that being said, I'll make a motion.
All right, it's up to hear it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to grant a rear yard setback variance of no more than 4 feet. The rear yard variance being applied to the south property line as required under section 400 .260.c, calculated as 24 feet to permit the replacement of the existing deck with a depth of 12 feet, as illustrated in the plans presented to the board on June 13th, 2024, as prepared by dex.com.
Second motion.
Okay, roll call.
Yes, sir. I'll note that Board Member Jurgel initiated the motion, and Board Member Weber seconded the motion. Just for those looking up. All right, on the roll call, Board Member Zobel. Approved. Board Member Weber.
Approved.
Board Member Jurgel.
Approved.
Board Member Chairman Cicero.
Approved.
And the motion passes unanimously, 4-0, given that there are 4 yeas, the variance is granted. The next step in the process, Mr. Chair, is the completion of the permit review. I know some revisions were sent out. I don't know if we did receive anything yet. I didn't check with the owner, but then we'll continue to initiate the permit review and get that issue for chairs as soon as possible. All right. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Cedric, excellent presentation.
Very good.
Okay,
Close the meeting.
I think at this point, I can
If there's any other questions?
close the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Close the
Yeah.
meeting at 9 or 7:26. Click the gavel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. All right. All right, we're on. Thanks,
Carlos,
guys.
can you give us?
Thanks, everyone.
You're gonna love
Any
Hopefully you guys.
any news or any updates you can give us?